Hello there and welcome back. This is the second part of the video about the wakeonlan script. So in the previous video, we got to a state where we can basically read the configuration file, execute our wakeonlan script, we craft the package, send them out, and now here comes the verification part. So let's jump right into it. What we would like to do here in this case is the following. We want to iterate over each machine, and in order for this to work, what I will do is to have my CentOS machine added to the configuration file. Let's go ahead and close this, go to the configuration, and let's paste the IP address. And we call this CentOS 9. Okay, so here comes the Paramico module. So basically, from the Paramico module, what we are going to need is the SSH client. So from Paramico, import SSH client and the auto add policy. So the auto add policy is going to make sure that we are magically add the SSH key to our key store. And yeah, let's go down here. I want to comment this one out, and for machine, in machines, we want to create a message stating that verifying machine, and let's leave it like this for now and give it a test run. And I made a typo, so this should be import. So verifying machine CentOS 9 and machine 2. And how do we verify this uptime? So technically, what we can do is say that we create a client from the SSH client. And for this client, we use the set missing host key policy, and auto add policy is the one that we want to use. And now we can try and use the client to connect. And we want to use the machine IP to connect. And we want to use the credentials username and the credentials password. So here, if you remember back from the previous video, this is where we pulled out that information. So technically, we want to use the credentials username and the credentials password. And I think I made a typo. So credentials, great. And if we want, we can specify a timeout and the banner timeout, but for now, we don't really want to do that. Accept exception as E, and we use the logger critical, stating that we cannot connect to machine because E. And we want to continue the for loop in this case. All right, let's give it a test run. And here So no name or server name provided, unknown. What is going on? So we have the IP and it is unable to connect. So let's give it like verbose information. And we say that we want to use the IP for the machines, machine, IP. Now give it a test run. And if we go back, we have this error. Oh, and we also have to specify to the paramiko after the IP address the port on which we want to initiate the connection. So now you can see it tries to authenticate. And the next thing that we want to do is to create a user. So if we go here, so SSH send to S9, what we can do is to use the sudo su add user, and let's call this demo, pass w demo, demo. And if I go back and say SSH demo at CentOS 9 and I issue the password, it will let me in. So now what I want to do is to update my configuration file. And here I want to use the demo user and the demo password. Great. So now if we rerun our wakeonlan, you can see that the authentication was successful. And that's what we are looking for. The other one is going to fail because this is a non-existent IP address. So the next thing that we want to do is to continue the development of our script. And we say that if we got to this point in the execution and we didn't run into the except block, we want to use a get transport function. This is going to open up a shell for us. And we have the std in, std out, and std error. And we are going to use the client.exec command to execute the uptime -p. How does it look like? So if I go to my CentOS 9 machine and if issue the uptime -p, you can see that it will show us the uptime, which is 1 hour and 31 minutes. And now what we would like to do is to verify whether this command was, or this command resulted in an error or it was successful. So if the std error channel dot receive exit status is not equal to 0, this means that on the standard error channel we received anything but a 0, then we have an error. And then what we could do is to say that the logger.critical, the following error occurred during execution. And now we have to say that we want to use the std error read lines function. Otherwise, if the standard error didn't receive any messages, what we can do is to say that the logger.info is the following response. And now std out dot read lines. And if I save it and go ahead and execute my script, you can see that the following response up 1 hour and 33 minutes. And that's what we want to go by. So if I want to test it, what I could do is to wreck the command that we want to execute. So now you can see the following error occurred during execution, and we have the usage for the uptime command. So -p is the one that we want to use. And now we can use the client.close to close the connection, because we either have an error or we have a result. And the logger.info is supposed to return, or not return, but rather print a message. And let's give it a timeout, because we don't want to wait unnecessarily for the timeout for the default one. So what we can do is to say that the timeout is 10 seconds, and we have a banner timeout, which is also going to be 10 seconds. So now if I re-execute it, you can see that from the first machine, we have the response, which is up 1 hour, 35 minutes. And the other one is going to say that the connection has timed out after 10 seconds. And technically, that was all I wanted to show you. So if you want, you can use this solution to wake your machines over the network. And basically, you can define each machine in such sections. You can provide the credential. One flaw is that the credential is not per machine, but rather one credential for all the machines. But if you want, you could go ahead and say that here the username is whatever, and the password is whenever, and then you could adjust the script. And that way you would have like a per user credential that you can use. This is one thing that you could update or upgrade. And the other thing, which I didn't put in here because that's in the production version, is that let's say we assume that this 500 seconds that we want to use to wait for the machines to come online is passed, and based on the output, we want to make sure that the wakeonlan script is the one which started the machines. So what I'm getting at is that if we say that 500 divided by 60, so 500 divided by 60, it's going to be 8 minutes. So if we check the uptime of the machine and it's greater than, let's say, 9 minutes or 10 minutes, just to be forgiving, then we could assume that the machine was up before we woke it up. So it's not, it's an indication of an error. And yeah, technically that was all. This was first video on my channel, and I have never made such a long video, which is 2 parts and so on. So I'm experimenting with different content. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.